Meet him tomorrow. Hey! Are we party? It's all personality driven. Control. Some happens. $20, we'll do it. Just like my car. My car does not look like that. No. That's not a big car.
Look in the boot.
It looks like a little. On the window. Better be big.
Hello and good afternoon, everyone. I'm Robert McCallum. I'm going to start off with some quick introductions, but I just want to introduce myself. Robert McCallum, mayor of the great community, the great borough of Dixon City. We're pretty cool. We're a borough and a city. I don't know how we ever pulled that off. But. So some guests in our audience are Representative Kyle Mullins, Representative Kyle Donahue, Representative Perry Warren, Representative Jim Haddock, Representative Eddie Day Pashinsky, Representative Joe Cerisi, Commissioner Tom Welby, Commissioner Bill Gahan, Representative Lisa Borowski, Dixon City Councilperson Kim Canuck, our Borough Manager Ches Furconi. I knew we were going to have a call, because I'm also a member here. I told them we were going to have a call during this, and
It's hard to compete with this.
Yeah. So I heard this happened in Harrisburg. Drew was telling me that earlier. It happened in Harrisburg. So we're usually leaders, but we like to follow, so we figured we'd do the same thing. So as we hear about the accident call, first of all, I'd like to wish everybody safety who's going on the call. So welcome, everyone. And if I missed anybody, any of our representatives, the governor is going to cover that. So welcome, everybody, for showing up today. Today is an important date in Dixon City and in Pennsylvania. I would like to thank, as the leader of this community, all the responders who responded that night. From all my fellow firefighters in Dixon City, to all the EMS, to all the police, to all the support from government, state government, county, local officials. It was really a team effort, and I'm proud to live in this community. We showed what we can do. That hospital is a very important part of Dixon City and the surrounding area. When I was growing up, there was a hospital on the other end of Main Street, and it was very important to have a Main Street hospital, just because of the services they provide and how times are changing and what we need in medical care. So through our local efforts, we're really trying, and from what we hear, we may have the emergency room reopen Friday morning. My background real quick is I was a volunteer firefighter since 1980. I was a junior fireman, and I went all the way in the early 90s to become fire chief of this great organization. And through that service, that civil service, that led me to the connection of continuing to serve as mayor. And it's one of my proudest duties to go from that transition from firefighter to mayor. Today, who's introducing a great program that was announced before the incident in Dixon City. It's benefiting our grant programs for the fire service. As mayor and as a firefighter, but more importantly as a resident, it's so important. It's so hard, the fundraising amount of money we need to continue this operation. So I'm privileged and honored to introduce Governor Shapiro about the new grant program, hopefully to gather up enough support and have it pushed through Harrisburg. And out of something that could have been very tragic, we're meeting out here today under very, very different circumstances, great circumstances. So your governor, Governor Shapiro.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mayor. Let me begin by just saying what I said to the firefighters and other first responders in the other room. I am grateful that there are people like you out there that when the bell rings, you run toward danger, and that you're willing to do that work. That makes us a stronger and better society, a more compassionate and loving community, and you just had the chance to witness that. The buzzer went off, and they ran toward danger, not knowing what was ahead. And so I just want to say thank you to them for that work every day. Mayor McCallum, thank you for your leadership of this borough that bears a city name. We appreciate being back here in Dixon City, and I want to thank you for your leadership. And I want to say thank you to Chief Chwanek for his kindness and for his leadership. When I got the chance to visit with the chief when I got here today, immediately all he wanted to do was thank the women and men of this fire department, as opposed to accepting any of the praise or thanks himself. That's the sign of a great leader, and I appreciate that very much. So thank you, Chief. I also want to acknowledge the presence of Commissioner Cook, who is with us today, who leads the Office of State Fire Commissioner on my behalf and is a member of my cabinet. I'm thankful to Commissioner Cook. You'll hear from him in a moment. A number of elected leaders were recognized before. I hope you note that they are not just from this district, though we are incredibly pleased to have Representative Bridget Kozarowski here, who you'll hear from in a moment, and Senator Marty Flynn, who represent this community. But you've got elected leaders from literally all across this state who are here today to say thank you and to let you know how much we appreciate you. You know, this is just the latest example where tragedy came to a community that would have been far worse but for the bravery of those from here at Eagle Hose Company number 1 and the other 8 responding departments that ran toward that hospital to extinguish the fire and ensure that everyone could get out safely. I want to say thank you to all of you for the work you do day in and day out. I also want to say thank you for your willingness to do this work. It matters in our society, and people appreciate it. In these hyper-polarized, divided times, let's take comfort in knowing that we all stand together with our first responders, with our police, and with all who run toward danger to keep us safe. Thankfully, when you were there the other night, you were able to extinguish the fire, and working together with the great staff at the hospital, who I know did everything they could, along with a former nurse at the hospital, Representative Kozarowski, you made sure that all 77 people were able to get out safely, and we thank you very, very much for that. I've always known our firefighters and our first responders to be heroes for their willingness to do this work. And I've always stood up to make sure you got what you needed in your budgets, and legislation was changed in order to help make sure you could do your job a bit more safely. But in April, When an arsonist attacked me and my family while we slept at the governor's residence, I had the opportunity to witness firsthand, together with my wife Lori and our 4 children, your heroism. As we were being rushed out, you were rushing in. I realize it was brothers and sisters that wear a slightly different uniform than you share that same spirit and commitment to service and others. And so on behalf of my family and a grateful Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, I want to thank you for your willingness to run toward danger and to do this important work. And I want you to know we have got your back yesterday, today, and tomorrow. As governor of this great Commonwealth, we've invested over $200 million in fire and EMS in just my first 3 years as your governor. $143 million directly to fire and EMS through state grants, $60 million through a fire and EMS loan program. And we worked incredibly hard to change the laws of this Commonwealth to allow first responders to collect workers' comp for PTSI. We know that was an important reform, and we're going to continue to press forward. I wanted to be here today to highlight your service and to announce an additional $37 million that my administration is releasing today to fire companies all across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And to note that Dixon City Fire is getting over $16,000 of that money directly right here. On my watch, we have allocated $60,530 just to Dixon City Fire during my time as your governor. And I know you've used it to buy new fire hose, cover truck repairs, and upgrade your facilities. I think that $60,000 is good, but not great, and it needs to be great. We need to invest more in our fire departments across this Commonwealth. Last year, I appealed to lawmakers in Harrisburg to add $30 million in discretionary grants to companies that could show that they would have a unique need for those dollars and to allow those dollars to be driven out quickly and for things that you absolutely need. Every lawmaker standing up here, including your local lawmakers, Representative Kozarowski, and Senator Flynn, voted for that funding. Unfortunately, we were unable to get it through a divided legislature. But in my budget that I released just about 2 weeks ago, I made clear that we're not quitting on our firefighters. We're going to come back and we're going to ask for those dollars again. And so I proposed, again, for the consideration of lawmakers, a $30 million competitive grant fund for fire departments that need additional help, additional support. For Dixon City, that means, in addition to the $60K that you've already received, if you've got a unique need for one of your trucks or a unique piece of equipment that you need that falls outside the traditional grant process, you'll now have dollars available for you to compete for. And so I want you to know that I'm going to push hard again for lawmakers to get this done and get this to my desk. I want you to know we've got your back. We appreciate you so very much. And when I get the opportunity to talk to Pennsylvanians, as I do every day, many of them will tell me that they're praying for me and my family, which I appreciate. And then in the same breath, they'll tell me they're praying for our first responders and our police, as my family and I do every single day. So to every member of the Dixon City Fire Company, thank you for what you do. To each member of those 8 departments that responded about a week ago, I want to say thank you for your willingness to run toward danger. To the members of the Pennsylvania State Police and local law enforcement, we appreciate you and we've got your back, and we're going to continue to support you and lift you up every step of the way. And we appreciate you being here for your brothers and sisters who are first responders doing this work to keep us safe every day. Everyone up here's got your back, and I'm going to continue to lead this fight to secure additional funding to help you as we go forward. It's now my pleasure to introduce Chief Chwanek, who, as I said before, has demonstrated incredibly strong leadership over quite some time, but particularly over the last week. We appreciate him and the service he provides to this community and to this Commonwealth. Chief, the floor is yours. Thank you all very much.
As the governor stated, I'm Chief Rich Chewanek of the Dixon City Fire Department, Eagle Hose Company number 1. First thing, again, thank you to everybody in this room. We pulled off the impossible. I was the figurehead. You people were the ones that actually did the work. Sure, with my command staff, good operation. No one was hurt. We saved the building. But without all of your help, that wouldn't have been possible. From dispatchers, to the police, to hospital staff. The hospital staff had stuff in motion before we even got called. They were phenomenal. EMS command, EMA, they were all there and had that evacuation under control. That was one less thing I had to worry about. My major thing, get the fire out, don't let it get to the hospital. And we were successful in that operation. So, like the mayor said, they plan on having the ER open by Friday. I guess we did our job. When I was on, he said, just want to let you know, Bridget and Drew are here. If you need anything from their offices, they're here for you. I was standing there at the command post, and I just felt this sudden calmness rush over me, knowing that they were there to help me.
Drew brought you calm?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Drew.
So, like the governor was saying, this additional funding, very important to the fire service in the state of Pennsylvania. Fire engine here behind us just put into service last May, June. We ordered that in December of 2022. The price that we signed for the contract, $834,000. Granted, we got a federal grant for $467,000, which is, what, maybe half? We had to come up with the other half, so we went to the state 2% loan program for $270,000. Our financial secretary and treasurer worked diligently with that to get that funding in place. That still left over $100,000 that we had to come up with. The day that we took delivery, $869,000. So just in that 28-month period, the cost rose. Spoke to the sales rep that day. He said when he delivered it, that day he could have sold that piece of apparatus for $940,000. Here we are, not even a full year later, same truck goes for $1.2 million. We can't flip enough chickens to buy a piece of fire apparatus. That's where this funding comes into play. It's very, very vital to the fire service in the state of Pennsylvania to keep this funding coming. Stand by, please. I think that's about all my remarks that I have. I'd like to turn it over to Fire Commissioner Cook from the State Fire Academy.
First off, thank you everybody for having us here to celebrate a rare success. I think the chief and all the members of the Dixon City Fire Department are being way more humble than they have a right to be with what was accomplished last week. To have a major fire in a hospital facility occupied by patients, some of you, and to safely evacuate 77 patients without any injuries, and more importantly, any deaths. Huge accomplishment, and very rare, not just in Pennsylvania, but nationwide. So congratulations, job well done. And there is one state official that no one has mentioned yet, and he's trying to hide in the front row. And I think it's important that we identify him because EMS played such a huge role in that incident last week, and that's Director Anthony Martin from the Bureau of EMS. Thank you, Anthony. The most important thing we're here to talk about is money, right? And as I travel around the Commonwealth, I hear two very strong themes from the Pennsylvania Fire Service. And it doesn't matter whether it's career or volunteer, urban, suburban, or rural. We need people and we need money. And thanks to the governor and his administration, we're going to get the opportunity to fight for one of those two things this year. The proposed $30 million capital grant, or not a capital, competitive grant, sorry, is very, very important to moving the Pennsylvania Fire Service forward. So unlike the existing grant program where basically if you sign a piece of paper you get handed a check back, and it's a relatively small check. In the case of Dixon City this year it's $16,000. By going to a competitive structure, we can actually make transformational investment in the Pennsylvania Fire Service. So we're looking not to make $10,000 grants, but to make hundreds of thousands of dollar investments in our fire companies. The things that we're looking at targeting with this obviously are modernize or construct facilities to improve service, modernize fire apparatus where necessary, funding of research studies to look at the feasibility of consolidation and regionalization across the Commonwealth, and staffing, retention, and recruitment programs. I think this program will take us a huge step forward to answering the two big problems that we're hearing about. We need people and we need funding. So that being said, I'm going to introduce Senator Flynn to say a few words, and if anybody wants to speak with me about the program afterwards, I'll be happy to listen to your ideas. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. It's an honor to stand here today with Governor Shapiro, our State Fire Commissioner Tom Cook, and Representative Bridget Kozarowski, along with Mayor Bob McCallum, Chief Richard Chwanek, and the members of the Eagle Hose Company #1 for hosting us here today. Last Wednesday's fire at Lehigh Valley Hospital in Dixon City underscored how quickly emergencies unfold. It showed how much depends on first responders being fully prepared to act. Nearly 80 patients were safely transported to other facilities. Fire, EMS, law support, hospital staff, transportation, and mutual aid partners worked together to coordinate transfers under intense conditions. Thankfully, there were no casualties. Due to the efforts of everyone involved who stepped in to move patients safely and efficiently, in moments like that, readiness isn't optional, it's essential, since there is no margin for delay. I want to thank Governor Shapiro for highlighting the importance of sustained support for fire and EMS as part of this proposed budget. Across northeastern Pennsylvania and throughout the Commonwealth, fire companies and EMS providers are facing increasing demands. Call volumes continue to rise, equipment and operational costs are increasing, recruitment and retention remain ongoing challenges, particularly for volunteer fire companies whose members balance this service with work and family. At the center of today's discussion is the Governor's call to continue annual funding for the fire company and emergency medical services grant program. This annual grant program is available to volunteer and career fire companies, EMS, and rescue squads across Pennsylvania. It recognizes that while communities differ, the need for trained responders, reliable equipment, and functional facilities is shared statewide. For volunteer companies, these grants help sustain staffing and keep stations operational. For career departments, they support equipment upgrades, facility needs, and long-term planning. In every case, the goal is the same: ensuring departments are ready before an emergency occurs. I look forward to continuing to work with the governor and my colleagues in the General Assembly to support this program, ensuring it continues to meet the needs of communities across northeastern Pennsylvania and the Commonwealth. And to all the first responders here today, thank you for the responsibility you carry and the service you provide to this community. Your work is critical and deserves continued support. Thank you.
It's now a pleasure to invite up Representative Kozarowski to share some words. And again, I can't stress enough just how important her voice has been in the General Assembly, advocating for these things, voting for these things. But when emergency struck at the hospital where she used to work, she ran there, albeit behind you guys on your way, to offer to help. And I think that speaks a lot to the extraordinary character that she has. And I would just say in the same breath, I know we made a joke earlier, but I couldn't be better represented in this community by anyone other than Drew Popish. And the fact that you were there keeping me updated throughout the night, I just want to say thank you to you and to the representative for going there and doing your part to help out. And so with that, a stranger to no one, your representative, Bridget Kozarowski.
Thank you. Good afternoon. And when you speak last, a lot of the highlights have already been said. But and Drew, when that alarm went off before, did you catch me looking at you that we should suit up? I thought that was cheap. We were ready. We were ready. Yes. But honestly, you know, it was. I often say here in northeastern Pennsylvania, we have a unique little village, and it was on display Wednesday night. Having been worked in the orthopedic office down the road there and knowing a lot of the staff, I was so proud of my profession, and I was so proud of the collaboration. My heart, thank you. You made me proud to be a representative. You made me proud to be part of the healthcare profession. And it's like the governor said, you know, when his family, there was an arson in his home in the governor's mansion. You know, to be protected at that time is profound. It affected him profoundly. And my being there Wednesday night, also, I really was. Again, reminded how important it is, the emergency room response, the EMS, the firefighters, the healthcare providers. We don't get to where we are today without you. We don't get to where we are today without you. And it is no short of a miracle that hospital will potentially open. This is like our I-95, I think. You know how we were watching I-95, the bridge? I think this hospital is like our I-95. Hopefully that hospital may open on Friday, which the environment here in our county here, in Lackawanna County, you know, hospitals are closing. Emergency room care is essential. So I am grateful for all of the work that has been done by the engineers that are there now, by the people that are making that place, you know, spick and span to be open, to be able to see patients. We are really grateful for you. So more the reason, I know that there is probably a collective eye roll behind me when they shout out that I'm a nurse from Mullins and Donahue and Representative Eddie Day and Jim Haddock, because I have to remind my Northeast representatives that I am a nurse. But truly, they called me that night. They called and said, Bridge, what do you need? What's going on? What can we do? So I'm really fortunate to work with the team I have behind me, and it's more important for us to do what we need to do in Harrisburg. So I encourage my colleagues from across the aisle that this is important stuff to get done, and we need to pass this because the funding is what you all need to do the job that you did on Wednesday night. So thank you very much from the bottom of our heart. Dixon City made me proud, and I'm proud to be your representative. Thank you.
I got to speak up on behalf of the Kyles. They have way too much respect and a healthy amount of fear of Bridget Kozarowski to ever roll their eyes at her. Maybe behind your back, but never to your face.
I have no fear.
Yeah. Haddock might do it, but that's a whole other story. All right, with that, if there's any questions from the media, Bridget will be happy to answer them for you. Go ahead.
Governor Shapiro, thank you for being here. Lydia McFarland from WVIA News. Just would love to hear what was going through your mind when you got that call last Wednesday and your administration's role in hitting that Friday timing.
Well, first off, I am informed of emergencies and disasters seemingly on a weekly basis across our Commonwealth. We have an extraordinary team led by Colonel Bivens, Director Padfield, Dana Fritz, my Chief of Staff, and others who work closely together to ensure that when a disaster strikes, we are on it. They communicate with me so that I'm aware, and most importantly, we get our assets out in the community as quickly as possible to assist the local government leads. You see one of them here, your chief, another your mayor, and others with whatever it is that they need. And that's exactly what happened here at the hospital last Wednesday night. Again, terrific work by Drew and others to be communicating effectively. As it relates to the potential of a Friday opening, that speaks to the integration that we've had with the local community on a number of fronts. First, the Pennsylvania State Police under Colonel Bivens' leadership has been assisting. Really important that we get this hospital up and running as quickly as possible. So we've had our team from the State Department of Health working together with the local community, with the healthcare system, to be there every step of the way, because at the end of the day, the hospital can't open unless the Department of Health certifies that it is safe to reopen. And so we're working with them hand in glove to make sure that we are not holding the process up, but we're working together with them to move quickly. I can assure the public that this hospital will not be reopened until it is safe for people to work in and safe for people to go there for care. I know that Friday is their deadline, and we're going to be doing everything in our power to work with them to meet that deadline. I don't want to get ahead of the hospital system or ahead of anyone else in telling you with absolute certainty that'll be the day, but I can assure you the Commonwealth will continue to partner with our local partners to meet all these goals and to ensure that this wonderful hospital gets reopened for its staff and all the people that need them. Anything else?
Governor, Connor Ford, 2822 News, thank you for being here today. I'm sure you saw the photos and videos on social media, on local news and whatnot, but what stood out to you the most about how the first responders handled that fire on Wednesday night?
I stopped by there on my way over here, which is why we were a little bit behind, because I wanted to see it not just in pictures, but to see it, in person. Obviously, the scope of the damage was extraordinary. And when you're approaching a scene like that, this is very complex because it's not just some vacant building where you got to put out a fire. You're in a densely populated area with, as we later learned, 77 people in the hospital, along with the staff who acted so courageously and did a great job. I'm sure every first responder here would attest to that. And so all you're thinking about is, how do we deal with the physical effects of the fire and ensure everyone's safety and get this out as quickly as possible so it doesn't spread any further. And when you look at the damage there, they were able to effectively do that. They kept it confined to sort of the orthopedic side or what have you. Forgive me, I don't remember the exact terminology for what they call that wing, but they were able to protect the hospital from everything other than smoke and water damage, which enables us to now be in a place to potentially get this reopened on Friday. So what I saw was extraordinary collaboration real quick in order to get people out while you're getting the firefighters in. I saw a community that looked out for one another. I saw the skill of firefighters to be able to extinguish the fire relatively quickly. And that put us in a position to be far ahead of the game here in terms of reopening. And most importantly, to see no loss of life in what could have been an absolute catastrophe community. So my hat's off to all these first responders and all the skill that they showed, and to the local leadership for being coordinated and calm and being able to address this crisis.
Governor Shapiro, Jack Holcomb with WNEP. I know you met with first responders ahead of coming out here today.
Yeah.
Are you able to talk about anything that was discussed on the other side of the building? Thanks. What you learned about the unique community of volunteers here in northeastern Pennsylvania.
I expressed to them my profound thanks, and I expressed to them my thanks not just as a governor, but as a victim of an arson attack, and letting them know just how important they are in my life and my family's lives. and how important they are in the lives of everyone here in Dixon City and across this region. I let them know how the community pulls for them and encourages them and prays for them. I realize sometimes, I get the benefit of being able to be out in the community and hear from folks what they're thinking and what they're feeling, and sometimes those who wear the uniform don't necessarily get that feedback I get. And the feedback I get about our first responders, about our fire, particularly in this area in the wake of this tragedy, is just a profound sense of gratitude. And I wanted everyone in that room to know how much we appreciate them. I also think it's important to note that in that room were firefighters, EMS, police, both local and state. This is a sisterhood and brotherhood that works together to keep us safe. I think sometimes people can take that for granted. I certainly don't. No one up here does. And I wanted them to know just how important they are in our lives and how much we appreciate them.
Time for one more, guys. I have an off-subject question. If there's
Anything else on this? Okay.
Recently, there have been 2 ICE facilities being built in both Schuylkill and Berks counties here in Pennsylvania. Local leaders in those parts of the state say they've been left kind of in the dark until DHS bought the properties. Now things have been moving forward with those. They're getting more information, but they're worried about their infrastructure in some of those areas. Has your office reached out to learn more about these, buildings from the federal government, and have you been informed of anything?
We were not informed beforehand. Just like the local community, we were kept in the dark. I do not want these facilities here. They do not belong in Berks or Schuylkill County. They undermine the economic growth that we're seeing across this Commonwealth. I think they compromise people's safety. And I think there are very, very serious questions as to whether our infrastructure can even handle this. While the federal government has extraordinary power to be able to locate these places against the will of a local community and against the will of the state, I can tell you that we've been working very hard behind the scenes to see what we can do to potentially stop this. I think the federal government, again, has an extraordinary amount of power to be able to do it, but we're looking at every single possibility here to ensure these kind of facilities don't come to Pennsylvania. We don't want these here. They don't belong here. They undermine our economic communities here. I've been encouraged to see local leaders, by the way, Republican and Democrat alike, stand up and say they don't want this in the community, that this is not something that is going to help in Berks or Schuylkill County, and I would say across the Commonwealth. I think this is not a Republican or Democratic issue. It's a common sense issue. This is not something that belongs here. We don't want it here. I'm going to do everything in my power to try to stop it. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Art in college too, so I got my art BFA from Ithaca College, and then upon graduation, I was like, it was